Well, hello there, folks, and welcome to another exciting game of Match for Adventure. We're here, and I'm your host, the Setab of Nagram. We've got four exciting patrons tonight that are willing to trade some power for a puny mortal's everlasting devotion. Now, you in the audience, you have some ability to help us out here tonight. Anytime you should contribute with those bits, you will help one of our patrons, one of our lucky patrons, become mixed congeniality. If you decide to really be generous and contribute 1,000 bits, you can put a specific patron right in the hot seat, and they have to answer the next question. Finally, if you want to give us 3,000 bits, you can ask them a question. Isn't that exciting? Now, our four patrons tonight are quite the show. Starting off tonight, we have Titania, the queen of the summer in the Sealy courts, looking for an angel to wake her from her flowery bed. Excellent at dancing ringlets to the whistling winds, enjoying sitting on yellow sands, gossiping in the spiced night air. Radiant as the summer sun, and boy, she's a looker. Now, coming in as our second patron, we have Friends and Fiends, spirits of those recently departed. Our next patron comes to us all the way from the ashen wastes of the Shadowfell. If you feel a chill in the air or a sudden urge to cross over into the afterlife, she might be to blame. Mystery surrounds her, power suffuses her. She's resolute in her decisions, some might say stubborn, but no one would hear that from them ever again. But most importantly, she loves striking deals, especially with you, dear warlocks. You know her. You most definitely love her, in time. I give you the Raven Queen. Coming up next, we have our dear Lord Mephistopheles, the Cold Lord, the Arcane Master, Protector of Nessus, and Pretender to the Throne, Lord Mephistopheles. And finally, one thing that we all never want to meet, the Wizard, Lich, and God. He will help you ascend to power. You become his right hand. He may grant you his left. He will be your patron and secret keeper, but only if they're naughty. Vecna! Give it up for our patrons tonight, folks. Now, joining us tonight will be some puny mortal with a bit of a penchant for laziness. He was presided over by a diviner at a young age who went screaming, saying, "It will be he! It will be he!" Blood seeping from his eyes and an enormous smile on his face. Couldn't quite cut it as a knight, dropped out of wizard school. I'd like to give you our warlock. Welcome to the show. Now, puny mortal warlock, what sort of thing are you looking for in a patron tonight?
Well, first, I have to say thank you all so much for inviting me to be here tonight. I think I'm just looking for someone who can really help me fulfill, whatever it was that diviner was talking about. I've spent my whole life, and it hasn't been a short one so far, just knowing that I was meant to be somebody. I don't know who, but somebody. And, like you mentioned, I've tried a few other things, and they haven't all gone super well yet. In fact, I've tried just about everything, but I can tell you why each one of them didn't work out. I'm too even-keeled to be a barbarian. I don't have a musical bone in my body for a bard. I don't like the idea of having blind faith to some higher power as like a cleric. Nature's a little gross, so druid's not for me. I was too weak for a sword and armor like a fighter. I'm a fan of the finer things, not the ascetic life, so no monk for me. We've already talked about the faith and the weakness for the paladin. We've already talked about nature being gross for the ranger. I trip over my own feet when I'm walking across a room, so rogue's out. I don't have a dragon for an ancestor, and I wasn't born near an arcane portal, so sorcerer's out, and just a wizard with so much reading. I even met a robot man from another world. He tried to train me up as an artificer. I damn near blew up my daddy's house. So, yeah, I guess I just need somebody for my last best chance of finally starting this adventure in life and being whatever it is I'm meant to be.
Well, that sounds just delightful. Just delightful. Well, how about we get started with a few opening questions? Care to take it away, Warlock?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's see. Gosh, you're all so great already. I don't rightly know where to start, but I suppose can I start with Miss Titania? Would that be all right?
Of course, fair adventurer. Anything for you.
Fantastic. All right, so my first question for you, and I suppose maybe I'll go around and ask you all of this. What is one thing that you are looking for in a potential warlock?
Oh, darling. I'm looking for someone who wants to enjoy life, to enjoy the beauty of this world. That's all.
Well, I do like the beautiful things, like I said. Thank you, Miss Titania. Lady, Your Highness, the Raven, I don't know how to address you, ma'am, but Raven Queen, same question.
Your Majesty will do just fine.
Yes, ma'am. Same question for you.
I'm looking for someone with a story.
Oh.
A story to be told, yet. And I think that your story is just beginning.
Well, I certainly hope you're right. It's not much of a story if it's just ending, so I like that. Thank you very much. Let's go down and Mr. Vecna, same question for you.
Someone who wants power, who wants to not only thrive, but to conquer as well.
Oh, all right. Well, I don't rightly know what my destiny will be, but conquering doesn't sound too bad, I have to say. All right. Last but most certainly not least, my Lord Mephistopheles, same question.
Like that you saved the best for last. What I'm looking for is drive, motivation, someone who wants to see things that they desire happen. Because I am very driven, and I'd love to take you for that ride with me.
All right. Well, a ride does sound kind of nice, and I think I'm driven. I've tried just about everything else. All right. Great. Well, let's see. Mr. Moderator, may I ask another? I'm gonna take your silence as a yes.
Yes. I'm sorry. I was on another plane there for a moment.
That's okay. I know you've got lots to handle in all the various planes. I appreciate you. Well, we should get down to brass tacks, I suppose, since we all know where this will end up eventually with whomever we decide to get together. So, what pact would you provide for me if we were to ally as Warlock and Patron? And this time, I'd like to start with Vecna.
Yes, you would be Pact of the Blade.
Oh.
I once had a lieutenant that I gave a blade to, and it gave him great power, and I can do the same thing for you.
Didn't he usurp you?
He tried, but I am still here.
Goodness. Well, follow-up question, because I do feel it is important. I don't have a great history with the blade. I'm willing to learn, but I've had some difficulty in the past. How would you, Mr. Vecna, use your power to help me get over the hump of the difficulties that I have had before?
We'll just make it so that the blade does all of the work for you.
Oh, now you're talking my language, Mr. Vecna. Yes, I like that. Yes, very much. All right. Same question for Your Highness the Raven Queen.
Your Majesty, young
Majesty,
adventurer.
I apologize. I was never very good at memorizing things. That's why wizarding didn't go super well for me.
I hear you. Now, you've heard of hex blades, have you not?
Of course. Not many around these parts, but I've heard the legends.
Yes, the legends come from the Shadowfell, and though I must regrettably give you the same answer as the Whispered One, I am the creator of hex blades in their entirety. These blades can give you unspeakable power, and they won't have to do all of the work for you. You can control them, all on your own.
That sounds very exciting. Thank you, Your Majesty?
Yes, well done.
All right, thank you. All right, slightly different question for the other two of you. So let's go over to my Lord Mephistopheles. Mephistopheles, what can you offer me in the way of power that the other three cannot?
The power that I offer you is power of the hells. See, many people look at them as so negative and terrifying, but that's because they're not in the right hands. Show me that you are the right hands, and become my hand, as we sweep across together with a fiendish power none have ever seen.
Wow, that is quite a bit to offer. Follow-up question for you. When you say power over the hills, do you in fact mean all 9 of them or just 1 or 2?
Well, if you pick me, it will be.
Oh, goodness. All right. All 9. Got it. All right. Miss Titania, same question for you. What can you offer me that the other 3 cannot?
Oh, love. That is very simple. All of these other cold-hearted entities can't offer you the warmth, the love, the joy, the passion that I can offer. Would you like to bring beauty into the world to spread it among others? That, my fair adventurer, is what I can offer you.
It's true. You do seem
You
of
would
a different
also have-
sort.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
No. Oh my goodness, no, please.
You would also have all of the Sealy Court and the Summer Court at your disposal. Or at your disposal. My husband Oberon, our servant Puck, and my fairies.
Sealy Court, goodness, that's a lot of backup when times get tough, I have to say. That's very exciting. Well, thank you all very much for your answers. I can tell this is, it's going to be a tough night tonight.
Well, here, let me give you just a little break. You can take some few moments to think over some of these answers while I ask our patrons some other questions. So, patrons, what do you hate the most about finding new warlocks? We'll start with you, Mephistopheles.
They give up on their goals. Very often people say they want something, but they're lying. When someone is driven, when someone has a goal and they pursue it, I can give everything I have to them. But far too often people don't commit to their drive. They lie to themselves. And if they can't be honest with me, how can I give them everything?
I mean, but aren't you beholden to the Lord of Lies? Moving on. Vecna, what about you? What do you not like the most about finding new warlocks?
I do not like when they have a fear of death. Death is not something to be feared. Death can be a new beginning. So, if you get over your fear of death, then an eternity awaits you.
Interesting. Having never lived myself and just inhabiting the mind of this crazed individual, I can't say that I prefer either one of them, but that sounds very interesting. Titania, what about you?
Frankly, I don't know. I never have a hard time finding warlocks. They always
Really?
seem to yes. They enjoy coming to my court.
Interesting.
I show them pleasures, and I show them all the wonders that the fairyland can provide.
I did hear about that donkey-headed man that one time. Moving on, Raven Queen, what do you have to say?
Well, I have usually no need for warlocks as I have an entire clergy. However, warlocks do add a certain fun to the dreary existence of eternity. I'm looking for someone who can have a good time.
Interesting.
You wouldn't know a good time if it bit you in the ass, Raven Queen.
No. I mean, she wouldn't. She's in the Shadowfell, and I don't believe fun is actually an emotion one can feel there. But moving on, Warlock, do you have any other questions you'd like to ask?
Oh, goodness. Just so many, but let's see. Where should we go to next? Well, let's get a little more philosophical, if that's all right with y'all. Patrons, what would a perfect eternity look like to all of you? I hope that I might be a part of it, but even if I'm not, in general, what does a perfect eternity look for you? Let's start with, well, you all have such experience with it, but I suppose we'll start with Mr. Vecna.
A perfect eternity. That would be me ruling over the land, possibly with you at my side, with an army of undead at our beck and call.
That would be nice. Certainly, they wouldn't be able to talk back to us. That's good, I suppose. All right, Your Majesty, same question for you.
Do you really want the company of undead? Is that going to make you happy? They sully the sanctity of life. What I want is for life to be honored in all of its forms. Death comes to us all. It's what makes life so precious, which I'm sure none of you would understand, having none of you have been mortal. Now, I understand your needs and desires. I rose to power, and I did so through the proper channels without a lieutenant stabbing me in the back. Now, I can give you the perfect life as a warlock and a satisfactory death, and then after that, company of mine for all of eternity with my Shadowkai.
Goodness, it would be a real honor to spend it with you. I would prefer that the death part not happen for some time yet, but it's nice to have something to look forward to after, I suppose. All right, well, I'm liking these answers. They're very informative, so I think we'll stick with the same one and head over to my lady Titania next.
I'll give thee fairies to attend on thee.
Oh.
And they shall fetch thee jewels from the deep, and sing while thou on pressed flowers dost sleep. And I will purge thy mortal grossness so, that thou shalt like an airy spirit go.
Oh, my goodness, you have a way with words, my lady. That sounded really lovely, both the way you said it and what you said. I thank you for that. Once again, last but definitely not least, my lord, Mephistopheles, same question.
Thank you. And it's I'm glad you actually went with the others first. It's good to enjoy the petting zoo before you go to real business. What I see is that curse of a creature Asmodeus gone. So someone with actual knowledge and wit can be on the throne. Oh. And if I am on the throne, then you are free to the mortal whatever way you please. Oh. It takes two to truly make wise decisions. Take them above while I'm below. Can create a life and afterlife that is most ideal for all.
Goodness.
You could find someone who already has a throne.
Like me.
But then it's not earned, is it, bird?
It is earned. It's already done, unlike your empty promises.
Well, I want a warlock who has effort. You're just an overexposed chicken waiting to be cooked. But please continue, my dear warlock.
No, I actually think that crosstalk was very informative. Thank you both for that. All right, we're gonna. I think let's combine things now, right? The philosophical and the down to business. So I know that each of you has a whole bevy of spells that you would grant me access to if I were to seal a pact with you. Which of your the spells that you would grant to me would be your favorite, and more philosophically, why? And let's start where we finished off and start up with my Lord Mephistopheles.
This one is very simple.
Oh, good.
Summon Greater Demon.
Oh.
One, if you ever need strength or power, I can send you my greatest. And they will replenish every time you use it. But also in truth, if something goes wild and crazy, you're not responsible. But if something goes wrong, I'm always watching over you, my sweet. And they will not hurt you if I declare so.
Well, I certainly don't want to, shirk responsibilities, except that I really generally sort of do. So that sounds rather nice, I have to say. Why don't we go over to Your Majesty the Raven Queen? Same question.
Very easy. Power would kill.
Oh, right to the top. Oh, my goodness. All right. How come?
Well, as my warlock, you will be a sentinel of a death. You will have complete control. An avatar, if you will, and it is your duty, if you wish, if you'd like, to send those straight to me.
Yeah, that's, I've always... Yeah, no, go ahead, please. I gotta absorb that for a minute, so go ahead.
And that's for anyone who stands in your way.
Wow. I mean, a single word to do all that, it feels like it's about as powerful as it gets. I'm curious. I'm curious, my lord, Mr. Vecna, what is your answer? Because I actually sort of would have expected a similar one from you, but I'm curious, what's your answer?
Finger of death.
Oh, all right. Yes. I see. How come?
Because why just kill them and leave them there, when after you kill them, you can raise them to do your bidding?
That is both fun and practical, I have to say. That's a good choice. Now, I expect we're in for something completely different, as the bards say, from Milady to Tanya. So what would your favorite spell be?
Oh, that's easy, darling. Why make others fear you like these others when you can be loved? Beguiling defense gives you the charm of the fairyland.
Oh.
You would be loved forever.
Goodness. That just that does take care of quite a few problems all at once, doesn't it?
I know.
All right. Gosh, these are all such good answers, and every time I think I might know who's getting into the lead, it just turns all around on me. Mr. Moderator, sir, do you have anything that you'd like to toss in while I sort of think about this for a minute?
Sure, of course. I'd be happy to. Now, all you patrons I know are quite busy. You've all got plans within plans within plans. What is the greatest thing that you want to do but haven't done yet? Let's start with you, Titania.
Sorry, can you repeat the question?
Of course, my dear. What is the greatest thing that you want to do but haven't done yet?
Oh. Well, I've done so much, and I've spent an eternity doing it. Because when you have all the time in the world, why not? Let's see. What have I not done yet? Well, I think I'd like to take back the rest of the Sealy Court. There is an offshoot that I don't love that has come out of my control. And I would like them to come back into the fold. I am in control of most of the court of Fairyland, mind you. And the most powerful part. There's just that one little bit that would like to bring back in.
Of course. We've all heard of the Unseelie Court.
Yeah.
Your Majesty the Raven Queen, what about you?
What would I like to do that I haven't done yet? I would like to rid us all of the Demon Prince, Orcus, and any other demigod who wants to claim undeath as their dominion.
Whoa, sparks flying. Sparking off of that, Vecna, what about you? Vecna, I'm afraid your planer's microphone isn't working.
What is there left to do other than cleanse this world of the unbelievers, those who squander their power, who have raised themselves to great heights only to sit perched doing nothing, or those below who just lay there in their hells with demons. That's no fun. Why not rule properly?
Interesting. I mean, you'll all be devoured when I finally arrive, but that doesn't matter. Mephistopheles, what about you?
I mentioned it previously. Asmodeus is a curse, and I have told him that to his face. Once that abomination is gone, the hells can actually have a sense of law, a sense of order. And when there is at least some semblance of order, the world can actually flow. And I think that's something that we need, even amongst enemies and friends.
Interesting. Well, these have all been very interesting. I will definitely file those away so that we can foil them later. Now, Warlock, how about back to you?
Well, I guess I thought of two things that I'd like to know. The first one is, look, I know that we're going to be entering into a mutually beneficial situation here, and that I will be beholden to you for certain things, and I, particularly at the beginning, on a much lesser scale, vice versa. But as I already mentioned, clerichood didn't go great for me because of that whole blind obedience and faith thing. So my next question for some of you is, what would you do if I were to disobey a command that you gave me? And we'll assume that it's not, something that would be worthy of stripping me of my powers. Look, I understand that I am the mortal in this equation, but something a little bit less than that. How would you deal with that? Let's start with Miss Titania.
Oh. What would I do if you disobeyed me? Well, why would you disobey me, Doc?
I mean, I certainly don't know. I believe that we could get along very, very well.
I don't
let's
ask
just
much.
say.
I mean, I don't ask much from my warlocks, darling. But I think perhaps, let's see. If you were to disobey me, I'd probably keep you in the fairyland for some time. Probably put a donkey head on you for a little bit to teach you a lesson. And once you've learned the lesson, I'll free you from that spell.
That doesn't seem too terribly bad. Follow-up question for you, Miss Titania, since you mentioned that you don't ask much of us. What are one or two things that you could say you would expect of me as your warlock?
I've already told you, spread beauty and joy. I'm the queen of the summer court.
It's that simple, huh?
All I want is for you to dance with us and join in our revels.
Wow. Okay, all right. I like that. Light responsibility, lots of power. It sounds good to me. All right. Well, same question about the punishment for misbehaving to you, Mr. Vecna.
If you were to misbehave, I would do nothing physical to you. I would just send you visions of how you could do better and things that you should never do again.
Got it. Visions. I bet they would not be pleasant. I understand completely, sir. I do have a different sort of question. The other question that popped into my head specifically for Your Majesty the Raven Queen and for my Lord Mephistopheles. Now brace yourselves, but I do find it's important that though we understand that you are some of the most powerful beings in the multiverse, sometimes we have to work with others that we perhaps don't want to ensure our ends. So the two of you, I would like to know one nice thing you have to say about each other.
I will go first. As much as I disagree with the Raven Queen, she is a queen, and I acknowledge that royal nature. That title is not just been, it is earned.
I think that's very big of you, my Lord Mephistopheles. She did work hard for that, I'm sure. All right, Your Majesty, how about you?
Mephistopheles, I believe, is not just, though he is very good at it, all talk. I believe with Mephistopheles you could get results.
I'm sure that's true, and if the history of the Blood War has anything to say about it, I think he's proved his point indeed. Well, very good. I liked all of those answers, and thank you for indulging me with that one. I know that you two are at odds, but it was important for me to hear that. Let's see. What else do I have to ask you? It's just such a big commitment, you understand, and I want to make sure that I make the right one and that we're working well together. So,
My warlock, may I ask you a question?
Oh, if the moderator says it's all right, I don't see why not.
Why, absolutely. Why, absolutely.
So, I'm quite the player of music with a skeleton xylophone. You said you don't have a musical bone in your body.
I'm afraid to say that's what I was afraid you were going to ask me. Well, I suppose if that was part of the deal, and if we could avoid...
it's not a deal. That's an off.
I mean, I have always...
idea.
I have always sort of had a passing curiosity about the musical arts, and I think it's one of those things where the things you can't do fascinate you, you know what I mean? Maybe you
then
don't.
I will make you sing.
Oh.
All right. That's getting a little bit too much. Would anybody else like to ask a question of our warlock?
Warlock?
Yes, Your Majesty.
If you could do anything in the world, anything, what would you do if you knew that you could not fail?
Wow, that's such a big question, but you know, it's one that I think has been in my mind for a very long time. And if it's all right, I think I have two answers. For one, tonight, I think is sort of the first step in getting one of the things that I want, which is becoming an adventurer like I feel like I'm destined to be. And I know lots of people will say that this is my last best chance after basically flunking out of every other adventure and career path training that I have attempted. But you know what? I have to tell y'all, and I think it's important that you know, that even if this wasn't my last option, you know, I think I'd pick this route anyway. And I'll tell you why. I'll tell you because with everything that I have learned doing my little dabbling in all the other areas, I realize now that I am, in fact, ready to enter into a mutually beneficial agreement wherein I gain eldritch powers beyond those that any mere druid or sorcerer could ever hope to command, and my patron gains the services of someone who is destined to be spoken of for ages to come, one way or another. And, you know, if we're looking more towards the future, I would like to really have some town throw a party in my honor. I think that'd be super fun.
Young adventurer, do you know that I am the mistress of fate?
I have heard that about you, yes.
Well, with me, I could show you your great fate.
I don't see them throwing parties in your honor, Raven Queen. If you want a party, my fair adventurer, I think you know who to talk to.
Well, I have to say, I do think you're probably right about that particular point, Miss Titania.
Oh, warlock.
All right.
I have someone to show you your fate when you can make your own fate.
That certainly is a tempting thing, seeing as I've been yanked around by what other people thought the prophecy about me has meant for all these years. So that does have a certain ring of allure to it, Mr. Vecna. Yes, it does.
Well, let's bring it back to the patrons and lighten the mood a little bit. We've all got interesting nicknames that we've earned throughout the years. I myself am often called the Creeping Nightmare, the Eater of Dreams, and other such things. Yeah. But, Raven Queen, what are some of your nicknames?
Pardon me, I was calculating in arcane things.
Of course.
go on to someone else. One moment, please.
All right, not a problem. Vecna, how about you?
I have had many names: the Archlich, the Chained God, Master of the Spider Throne, and my favorite, the Whispered One. I am the Undying King and Lord of the Rotted Tower.
Wow.
Mephistopheles, how about you?
I am called the Cold One. I have been called the Lord of No Mercy. I have been called the Charming King, but I have been called a king.
Oh.
And Titania, yourself?
I only have one, for I only need one. I'm the fairy queen. That's all.
All right, very simple, straightforward. And Miss Raven Queen?
Yes. My true name is lost, but I have the only one that matters. The Raven Queen, the Mistress of Fate, the Lady of Winter, usurper of Nerul. That is all you need.
That's
Interesting. Interesting. Good lord, I've turned into a potato.
Oh, well, that's
Well,
unexpected.
yes, it sometimes happens in these planar travels. Well, Warlock, do you have any more questions for our fine patrons?
Oh gosh, I'm sure I can come up with a few more if we've got the time for it. Sure. What if we go a little bit? I want to know a little bit more about you all as well. I suppose people is the wrong word. Beings, supreme beings. When you've had a long day at the office, how do you de-stress? Let's start there with Mr. Vecna.
I enjoy a good tome and wine from the skulls of my enemies.
I do love wine, and it feels like a skull would have quite the volumetric capacity. So that's a solid choice. My Lord Mephistopheles, same question.
I punish those who deserve it.
That is straightforward, and I appreciate the decisiveness of your answer, and we'll make sure to never be on that list. Well, these are great answers. Let's keep going. My Lady Titania, how about you? How do you de-stress after a tough day at the office in the Feywild?
Well, I sit down on my flowery bed and and with some young fairy or other, or my warlock, will eye thy amiable cheeks do coy and speak and stick musk roses in their hair.
Oh, that sounds
And-
lovely. Oh,
And occasionally dance in a fairy round or two and have moonlight revels and that sort of thing.
well, I'm not much of a dancer. As I said, I trip over my own feet. But let me tell you, what I lack in coordination, I make up for in enthusiasm and appreciation.
That's perfect, darling.
Good. Well, how about you, Your Majesty? How do you de-stress after a tough day?
Oh, you know, I collect many souls. Something that I have joy in is purifying them by forcing mortals to deal with their fears and their pain.
Wow. That's Great. All right. Thank you. Goodness, what else have I got? What haven't we covered? Anything else from you, Mr. Moderator?
Why, of course, my dear boy. What of course? All of us here are large entities of the great multiverse. We've all seen a few bright souls. Everybody, what is the most amazing soul that you have ever seen?
Oh.
Let's start with you, Titania.
I love that you choose me to go first so often. The most beautiful soul I've ever seen. There's so many. Mortals delight me so. I would have to say, well, surprisingly, Nick Bottom had a very nice soul. And a very nice bottom, if we're to be honest.
Of course, of course. And my lord Mephistopheles, what about you?
I think it would have the soul of a lost servant. They were sent to me from what I'd assume most would consider a mistake. And I would actually belong with them. Asmodeus is corrupt and has twisted the decision of who goes up and who comes down. It was a beautiful soul, and I don't know if I deserved it.
That's quite tragic. Vecna, what about you?
The most beautiful soul that I have seen was that of my own as I bottled it and stored it away so that no one could see it or touch it but me. For a soul is something precious that should be savored, treasured, and contained.
That's quite right. I do enjoy mine with a little side of gravy and some nice eggs. Now, the Raven Queen, what about you?
Eggs.
The most beautiful soul I have ever seen was that of a, he was a warrior. Although he was not always. He was a bit like you when he started out. Young adventurer. And then he rose and rose within his ranks till he served as the right hand of the Whispered One. And then, to my unending amusement and satisfaction, drove his sword through Vecna's back. Oh, yes, Vecna did destroy him, but I collect the souls when they go. And let me tell you, that was the most sweet victory. I can still feel it.
All right. Well, we look like we're getting close to the end here. I have a few more questions, if you do as well, Warlock.
Actually, since we've gone a little off script and the patrons have asked me questions and I've asked them questions and you've asked them questions, I have one quick question for you, if that's all right.
Of course, by all means.
I'm just curious what you think of this whole thing. I think I've not heard of you before, but my understanding is if you were able to bring us all together, you must be a pretty powerful being in your own right. Well, if you don't mind me asking, who would you pick?
I really can't. I'm forbidden by various celestial laws from interfering with the reigns of these people until the end of time. That being said, once I do have a tether on the mortal realm, I am allowed to come and visit. And it's quite the time when I do, let me tell you. Oceans of blood, nightmares that last for 1,000 years. It's delightful.
Certainly sounds like a change in pace. Anyway.
Oh, yes.
All right. Well, I understand that you have to be an impartial observer, but I appreciate you allowing me to give it a try anyway. I've got another question for a couple of the patrons, if we could.
Absolutely.
So each of you, some of you are sort of the rulers of your own plane. So I'm curious, if you could visit another plane for an extended period of time, no worries about how things are running back home. If you could have a vacation of sorts, which I'm sure you all very much deserve, what plane would you visit and why? And let's start with, I think for this one, we'll start with you again, my Lord Mephistopheles, since we know that you're down there on the 8th level, I think. So where would you head to?
I'd like to go to the Plane of Fire, particularly so I could see the City of Brass.
Oh, I have heard it is lovely this time of year.
I've spent so much time with being cold, the cold one, that sometimes warmth is forgotten. So a chance to see something of warmth and beauty is unrivaled.
I like that. I like that. How about you, Your Majesty? What other plane aside from the Shadowfell where you make your home would you like to visit?
You know, I would actually quite enjoy a visit to the Helms. The River Styx is actually lined with memories forgotten for all of time, and I think that is a shame. Nothing would give me greater joy than to traverse the River Styx and pluck some few memories.
It's a dangerous proposition, but I like it. I like it very much. How about you, Miss Titania? Where would you like to head for a vacay outside of the Feywild?
Oh, well, that. I might have a very boring answer for this, because there is nowhere more wonderful than the Feywild.
So I've heard.
I do love the material plane. Mortals delight me so with their short lives and their enthusiasm and their passion.
I like that answer. You come visit me, stay with me for a stretch, and we'll just have a good time. I like that. All right, now, Mr. Vecna, the question is similar for you, but as far as I'm aware, you don't necessarily call a single plane home. Is that correct?
That is correct.
All right, so how about this then? If you could visit a particular point in history, whether one that you were around for or otherwise, though I'm not sure there are many that you weren't around for, when would you like to take a little vacation?
I would like
changed it up on you. Sorry
to
about
go
that.
back and watch the Raven Queen herself ascend, so that I can see the travesty that was her taking power, and revel in all of the mistakes that I know she will make.
My goodness. Well, we all get to where we are in different ways, but I bet it would be fascinating to watch that progress. Yes, indeed. Well, thank you all. Those were great answers and very helpful for me.
Well, our audience has been very effective tonight, and so we're going to put a couple of our patrons here in the hot seat.
Absolutely.
Oh,
Mephistopheles, Titania, and the Raven Queen, I have a couple quick fire questions for you.
Good.
All right. Polka dots or stripes?
Stripes.
Polka dots.
All right. Dawn or dusk?
Dusk.
Dawn.
Dusk.
Mephistopheles. Are you flirting?
Well,
Emotion.
it depends.
Or logic?
The warlock opened
Emotion, darling. I don't know why we're still trying to do this. Who do you...
joy.
Interesting.
Look, we all know that we're going to haunt this warlock's dreams.
Emotions, darling, remember?
Yes. We're all going to haunt these warlock's dreams. And frankly, who do you want hanging out in your dreams? The Raven Queen? That creepy, cold entity? Vecna?
Say it.
I mean, Mephistopheles, sure.
You
You
can't
call
even
yourself
say
a queen,
his
but you're
name.
quite rude. It sounds like you're not a queen by their choice.
I'm used to people I'm used to talking over people, darling. People just let me talk. That's sort of what happens.
So then you'd never let your warlock speak, would you?
He doesn't need to.
You're saying he doesn't
I'll
need
keep
to
him
have his
very
own
busy.
voice.
He won't have to. No.
Some of us have more important things to do than carnal pleasures of the
And some of us make time.
Well, that's fair too, but
I mean, I'd agree with Mephistopheles on that one.
Oh, making time. It is so much fun to do that. I made some yesterday, and then I ate some for breakfast the day after that. But unfortunately, we are starting to run out of it. So, Warlock, do you have any final questions for our patrons?
I feel like I should give everyone just one more pitch to say anything that they feel like I should know before I make my final decision. So, patrons, thank you all so very much for being willing to exchange your eldritch powers for my service. What else? What's the last thing I should know about why I should pick you? Let's start with, oh goodness. You know what? I have these set of dragon bones that I'm going to use to decide who talks when, because I just can't make a choice here. Doesn't seem fair. All right, so this first one's going to be Miss Titania.
First as always. So doth the woodbine, the sweet honeysuckle gently entwists the female ivy so, and rings the barky fingers of the elm. Oh, how I love thee, how I dote on thee.
Oh, you just have such a beautiful way with words. It's almost as if a famous playwright were helping you write your lines. All right, who's up next? Let's see. Next up is my Lord Mephistopheles.
If you ever die, you're simply visiting home, and I will watch over you as much as you would like. But you are your own person, Warlock, and I want to see that, because I'm not here to raise you. I am here to stand beside you.
That certainly gives me something to look forward to, yes. Right. All right, next up is Your Majesty the Raven Queen.
You spoke earlier saying that cleric just did not work for you. Give enough time with your queen. I will make a believer out of you. I will give you everything that you desire as you earn it. And when you are satisfied with your mortal life, your soul will come to me regardless of your patron. I think that is also important to remember.
That does feel like an important detail that should be taken into consideration. Spheres of influence after death. Well, speaking of death, I guess the final word is yours, Mr. Vecna.
All these fools will promise you things, but I will deliver. You do not have to worry about your soul going anywhere, for you will not die. They say that they will give you things, but I will give you my own eye.
Oh, that's a gift like no other.
And my left hand to show you the power that you can wield and that you shall have. My power is your power.
It feels worth noting that Mr. Vecna is the only one who offered me literally a part of himself. Right. Well, I think that's about all I've got, Mr. Moderator.
All right. Well, you can choose one of these puny, fictitious things that have been created by mortals through their own minds. You can choose me in madness. It's your choice is yours.
Hold on, what was that last thing that you said?
Oh, well, we are on my demi-plane of madness. If you'd like to, you can lose your mind and I'll puppet your body like a noodly appendage, and you will become quite the great person.
Noodly appendage.
What?
Ugh.
That sounds disgusting.
It sounds kind of gross, but also it sounds like I wouldn't have to take responsibility for anything and maybe wouldn't actually have to make choices or decisions on my own ever again.
Oh no, you'll be a gibbering wreck, good sir.
I don't know what those words mean, but I think I have to go with that. It just feels like a lot of pressure's off. Thank you all so much for your time, but I think I choose the gray old one.
I'm sorry, wait.
What?
I'm sorry. No, what? This is
Well, that's all the time we have. I'm going to have to banish you all back to your planes right now, and then just get on to devouring this poor mortal's mind. Oh, but before I do that, let's see here. I did dispatch some small gnomes into the chat there. Daxara, if you could give me the final chat numbers, please, I would appreciate that, and we'll figure out who Mixed Congeniality is. All right. Miss Raven Queen. Oh, wait.
That's
we have a last minute shift.
What a cheat.
That's right in at the end. Mephistopheles sniping it as he know he would.
Of course
Well, Mixed Congeniality goes to Mephistopheles.
Doesn't that make us tied?
Yes, it does. But
Oh, it
like
does?
I said, Raven Queen. Sometimes things look better in pairs.
You have a point. We can talk later.
Warlocks are expendable anyways.
They are. Allies are forever.
At least I did better than Titania.
How dare all of you? Fairies, skip hence. You'll try downright if I longer stay.
So this was absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
That was fun, y'all. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. I'm Morgan. I played the moderator. And on Open for Adventure here, I can be found at Revenant_ceramics on Instagram. And on Mondays here on Open for Adventure on Fate's Chosen. Our dear Warlock, how about you go next?
Hi, thanks everybody for hanging out. I'm sorry I copped out there at the end, but I couldn't make a good choice. They're all so good. I'm Eugenio. I use he, him pronouns. I'm also known as your friendly neighborhood dungeon master, DM Jazzy Hands. I'm the DM of the actual play podcast, The Last Refuge. You can follow me on the Twitters at DM Jazzy Hands. You can find the show on the Twitters at DND Last Refuge. I stream occasionally on here, but the podcast is my main thing. Thanks so much for having me, Open for Adventure. This was super fun, and you all were really fantastic. Thanks.
Titania, how about we go with you next?
All right. Hi, I'm Jordan, aka the Lady Dame, and I played the Fairy Queen Titania. You can find me. Sometimes I stream on my own channel. I stream very, very late at night, Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. And I also am playing on the Goldheart Gaming channel in their Descent into Avernus game, where I play Lucretia, the Azamar Barbarian. And then sometimes you can find me here on Open for Adventure, hanging out in Discord and Twitter. Yeah.
Wonderful. Mephistopheles?
Hello.
Are you still getting your stuff off? Okay.
Oh no, it's fine. I'm majestic all the time. Hi, I'm Gabe, aka Gabe James Games on Twitch and Twitter. I am usually working on games as well as a goblin dating sim. You'll actually be able to find me tomorrow on Encounter Roleplay playing Zweihander RPG. This was delightful. Terrifying, but delightful. Well,
wonderful. Vecna, how about you?
I am Tony Ballard Smoot, also known as Captain Anthony LaGrange. I can be found as Capt LaGrange on Instagram, Twitter, and Captain Anthony LaGrange on Facebook. I am a steampunk model, costumer, cosplayer, motivational speaker, and I am currently guesting right here on Open for Adventure on Monday nights as Red.
Wonderful. And last but not least, our illustrious leader, the Raven Queen.
Hi, I am Camille. I am one of the many DMs on Open for Adventure. I gotta give it myself words. I can't say the DM on Open for Adventure because I'm not the DM anymore. We have so many. I played the Raven Queen tonight, as you saw. I want to give a huge thank you to all of these people, especially my guests who have never been on the channel before, aka Gabe and Eugenio. Thank you so much for coming on and doing this fun thing. Thank you so much to everybody in the chat who has been so gracious. It's been amazing. If you like this format, if you like this style, we are going to have more of these. We don't know if it will be for patrons on Warlocks, or if it will be for a Holy Avenger and Paladins, or if it will be for... Who knows? It could be anything. If you have a great idea that you would like to see in this kind of format, please join our Discord, which you can find in the chat. Join our Discord. Find me on Facebook. Not Facebook. Don't find me on Facebook. Find me on Twitter at CamilleDoesDND. Please follow the channel on Twitter at Open4Adventure. And if you like what's going on here, tell your friends about it. I had an amazing time tonight, shit-talking all of you fine folk. Anything? Oh, Morgan, can you give a shout-out to our sponsor while I pull up stuff?
Yeah. Absolutely. So our channel Open for Adventure is sponsored by Campaign Coins. They make wonderful coins that you're able to use in your campaigns for like D2s and whatnot, as well as just kind of fun items. and they also make great meeples. So go ahead and check them out. Oh, didn't we? No. Yeah. Tony's holding one up right now. It's great.
They're beautiful.
Yeah, campaign points. They're awesome.
Definitely. Meeples, not meatballs, Juva. Last but not least, I forgot what I was going to say. Anyway, I hope y'all have a great night, and we will see you next time here on Open for Adventure.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.